Welcome to Connected for Good, a community conversation that celebrates Loudoun County's changemakers. I'm Matt Bender, Director of Community Engagement at the Community Foundation for Loudoun and Northern Fauquier counties. Connected for Good is made possible through a grant from the Claude Moore Charitable Foundation, and I'm here with Stephanie Narancis, Director of Giving for Claude Moore.
Every weekday morning, more than 80,000 children and youth in Loudoun County walk into a classroom. They are met by a teacher, a lesson, a school bell, and perhaps a quiz. 1,000 small things that quietly add up to one big thing, an education. Today, we are joined by Dr. Ashley Ellis, Chief Academic Officer for Loudoun County Public Schools. In her role, Dr. Ellis helps shape the academic vision for what we lovingly call LCPS. She guides everything from curriculum and instruction to how we prepare students for success beyond the classroom.
From her early work as an English teacher to her leadership across one of the fastest growing school divisions in the country, her perspective reflects both the day-to-day realities of education and the broader vision for its future. Dr. Ellis, welcome to Connected for Good.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
Yeah. To get us started, can you just tell us a little bit about your journey in education and what's led you to your role today?
Absolutely. So, as you mentioned in your introduction of me, I started my career in education as a high school English teacher. I taught ninth, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. I sponsored the yearbook. I taught a creative writing class one year. I sponsored the student government, which was probably my favorite thing to do. And also, while I was in the classroom, I began to realize that to expand my impact, I wanted to work with other educators and supporting other teachers. And so I really became interested in professional learning and spent a few years as a professional learning coordinator in another division in Virginia. And I've been in this role as the chief academic officer for LCPS for 10 years now. And I just really love the community. The teachers and leaders in LCPS make the job worth doing every single day.
And
Mm.
I have to ask, just out of curiosity, what was your favorite grade level to teach?
Oh, so my favorite grade level was I had two actually. I loved teaching ninth grade because they were so excited to be in high school. They were still a little nervous and they still had a little bit of middle school left in them, but they were really excited for for just being in the high school and being in that new environment and taking it all in. So I loved teaching ninth grade. And
Mhm.
then and I also really loved teaching 11th grade at the time, and in the school I was in, 11th grade was American literature, and I just have just a love of American literature, so I really liked the content as well as, 11th graders are very serious. It's usually the hardest year of high school. They are starting to realize that there is life beyond high school, and I loved being able to support them in, making decisions and prioritizing things that would impact them for really the rest of their lives.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing.
So,
Yeah.
Dr. Ellis, I'm not sure if you know, but Matt Bender is a former educator. Is that right, Matt? And what
Yeah.
did you teach?
I was an English teacher. And so I
Awesome.
have to agree that ninth graders were so much fun to teach. I loved, uh, they were just a lot of fun. There was
Yeah.
still the little bit of that. They weren't too cool. There's something that happens between that ninth grade and 10th grade year when they come back from summer where all of a sudden they're really cool. But ninth graders were, they were great.
So true. So true.
So, what did you learn from teaching that you still carry with you today that helps you in this role?
Yeah, I love that question, Stephanie. I think the biggest lesson that I keep with me and remind educators when I have an opportunity is that our students are people too, and they're people first, right? They're
Mhm.
actual human beings with feelings and ideas and hopes and dreams before they are students who walk into our classrooms.
Mhm.
And honestly, I think my biggest success in the classroom was really treating my students like the human beings that they are and that has served me well, even when I shifted to really to working with adults, because our educators are people too, and that sort of people first mentality has really helped me.
Hmm. Well, yeah, that's very powerful. That's very powerful. So the school's mission is empowering all students to make meaningful contributions to the world. When you think about that in practice, what does it look like for a Loudoun County student?
So, first of all, I love this mission statement so
Mhm.
much, and LCPS is the first place I've been where you could go into any school or any building or classroom,
Mhm.
and I would be willing to bet you the teacher or leader in that classroom would be able to recite our mission statement. And to me, that's really powerful and
Mhm.
something that I hadn't seen before I arrived here in LCPS.
Mhm.
And it's powerful to me because I think it keeps the mission statement alive. It's not just words
Mhm.
on a poster,
Mhm.
but it's something that we live and breathe every day. And it speaks to what I want for my own kid. I'm also an LCPS parent, and parents have hopes and dreams for their kids. And I think that our mission really is a testament to the work that we
Mhm.
do every day to support kids. Um, I think so. You asked what it looks like for LCPS students. I think it looks like students owning their own learning,
Mhm.
having control over their learning, setting goals for themselves, having choice in what they do in the classroom, and making decisions that will positively impact them
Mhm.
in the immediate, in their classroom, and then in their future as well.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
I will also say that it's more I think that concept of making meaningful contributions to the world implies something that's really important to us, and that is that partnership with the community and businesses. It's something that I believe very strongly in, our superintendent believes very strongly in, and it also implies that students are doing things beyond the classroom, right?
Mhm.
So it's not beyond the classroom and beyond their immediate family or local network, right? So
Mhm.
I'm not completing a project and getting a good grade for it to go on the refrigerator at home.
Mhm.
I'm contributing to my community, and whether that community is my classroom community, the school community, or Loudon, or even broader than that. I think one of our goals is to make sure that we have opportunities for students to make those contributions in
Mhm.
ways that are right for them.
Mhm. Mhm.
So one thing you talked about was partnerships, and last week was the school business partnership lunch
Yeah.
breakfast awards ceremony, which was just really just amazing how many partners. Well over 1,000, and it's doubled. And these are businesses and individuals that work with the school. So one question I have, because I consider the foundation a partner, we were because we were at the
You're
breakfast.
you're a great partner.
um, what makes a good partner for the school, and where does a partnership maybe fall short of what it could be? What do you really like to
Oh,
see in your partnerships?
that's a tough question. So I think that partnerships can look different for not only for different businesses, but for different classrooms and schools. And I think it, first of all, before anything else, needs to be mutually beneficial, right?
Mhm.
So, what is the classroom or the school going to get out of the partnership? How are they going to benefit? And also, what's the benefit for the business partner?
Mm.
And that could look different for everybody. And so, really nailing down how it's going to benefit both the business and the school, I think, is really helpful.
Mm.
Over the years, I've learned that business partners, especially in a community like Loudon, they want to help the school system. And we are so grateful for that, right? And
Mhm.
they don't always know how. And
Mm.
so, how can we as a school system provide them opportunities to participate and meet them where they are in their partnerships? So, I'll give you a couple of ideas. You mentioned the school business partnership breakfast. We handed out awards. Some were given to a business that worked with just one teacher in one school, and they formed a relationship and they supported those students. They may have invited students to a field trip to their business to experience firsthand. And then some of the other awards were more broad, right? So a partner of the entire division instead of a particular school. And we need all of those people.
Mhm.
And if I may, I have one other example of a way that we try to support our partners. So a few years ago, actually, I guess it was before the pandemic, I led a workshop with school teams, so teacher teams, and they were invited to bring a business partner with them to this workshop. So it was a professional learning for teachers, but also for a representative of the businesses. And they sat at the table with each other and they planned a project for their students that would incorporate the lesson that the teacher was hoping to provide, and also ways that the business could support that particular lesson. And so both parties walked away with a really clear understanding of what that partnership would look like. And the feedback we got was amazing because business owners walked away knowing exactly what the school needed and how they could support
Mhm.
that.
Mhm. And another thing you said that kind of ties into partnerships, I think, and the mission statements about contributions to the world has to do with workforce readiness. And I know that just through my work through the foundation, the school is very focused on workforce readiness. And obviously, that's something that the focus is in high school. Probably, but some ways, you're leading up to that. Even in middle school, you're touching on careers and career exploration. So, and I know there's a number of programs out there that touch on workforce readiness directly. You talk to those a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. So we have, and again, we really rely on our business partners
Mhm.
to support us in these endeavors. We have an amazing career and technical education team here in LCPS, and they actually have work-based learning coordinators now that are partnering with schools to to foster those relationships between the schools and the business partners.
Mhm.
And our school business partnership executive council hosts a job for a day experience for students each year. This is an amazing opportunity for students to spend just one school day deeply immersed in
Mhm.
a business or work opportunity. And the stories that we hear are amazing. Most students absolutely love it, and they can't wait to graduate from college and come back and be a nurse and or whatever their experience was. And others say, no, thank you. I had a great day, and I know this is not for me. And
Yeah.
that's a really important lesson too, right?
Mhm.
I don't
Yes.
know about you all, but I didn't always wanna be a teacher. I wanted to be a vet, and I did not have that opportunity until I was in college, and my parents were paying for me to take a class, and I said, "Nope, can't do it."
Yes. Yes. Well,
Uh,
as a matter of fact, at the expo where students were at the academies allowed in where they were showing their projects and
yep,
over the year, and I spoke with one student and it had to do with agriculture and, food science, and I was like and she sounded so interested, and her project was wonderful, and I says, "Well, what are you gonna do with what are your plans for this field?" She goes, "Oh, no, I liked the class, I thought, but it's not for me." So I thought, "Well, that's great." She only spent 1 semester in high school, loving the class, learning a lot about something that is important, but learning what you don't wanna do is just as important as learning what you do wanna do, you know? And,
absolutely.
programs like that, the academy is allowed in and your health science, and I know Dr. Grubbs tells who's we're gonna be speaking with him, and he's your career and
Yes,
technical education
that's great.
director. He tells a really funny story about 2 students. One thought she was gonna be a doctor and fainted at
Yes.
shadow the workday.
Yes.
Um, so obviously that didn't happen for her. So those are really, those are that
That
but
was kind
that's
of
the
my
job.
experience in yeah, it is. That was kind of my experience in college biology. Like,
Y
"No, thank you."
yeah, exactly. And high school is just a wonderful place to explore and school in general is a wonderful place to explore and
Yes.
And
And giving those students the opportunity to experience it in high school and to your point earlier, even middle school, just the opportunity to explore different possibilities is extremely important.
yeah. And
That's-
go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I just had a question about what that looks like in the classroom, i- i-
Yeah.
to provide students with hands-on experiences. I know that from my own experience in the classroom, I think I've received a lot of like sit and get instruction, that sage on the stage where the teacher stands at the front of the classroom, delivers the information. The students are the sponges, they soak it up and then they, repeat it on a test or whatever. So how have you seen that change? Do you feel like that model is evolving? And if so, how?
Yeah. It is certainly evolving and has evolved since I was in high school, and I had a similar experience, a lot of sit and get. One size fits all, right? You get
Mhm.
what you get in this classroom. And while I knew my teachers cared about me, I'm not sure they knew me as a person and as a learner. And I am really proud to say that I think that is no longer the case in LCPS. Our students are known by their teachers. We have spent a lot of time and resources in providing professional learning on personalized learning. So, really allowing teachers to meet students where they are, to know their strengths and needs, to provide that personalized experience. And, at a practical level, that looks like giving students options in the classroom, right? So instead of everybody reading the same book in my high school English class, I have 5 books for you to choose from. You're going to get into a little book group, and then you have that option of choice. And going back to the CTE courses, we have we have multiple pathways available. We have some pathways at our academies of Loudoun. We also, and I know Dr. Grubbs is really excited to talk to you all about his long range CTE plan, and that really is mm, the goal of that is to get those options into each home high school so students don't have to travel somewhere to be able to get an experience. And then I think going back to your question about traditional models, I don't like to talk about assessment, but we're sort of tied to assessment, right? At the state and federal level, we can't just ignore it. And I think that assessment models are ever so slowly shifting to more authentic assessments. The state has allowed some flexibility in assessments, and LCPS takes every opportunity it's given to take that flexibility. We use performance-based assessments. So what that is really is exactly what it says. Rather than filling in your little Scantron sheet, which I'm sure you're both familiar with, students demonstrate mastery of the content through developing a portfolio or completing a real world project, and that performance or that project is tied directly to the standards, and so you can demonstrate mastery of those standards through the project.
Mm,
Got it.
I love that. So, mastery of subject, workforce readiness. And so at the Claude Moore Foundation, as you know, we're very focused on literacy and workforce readiness. One thing is for certain is you can't take advantage of all these opportunities later in the back end of your education career, your K through 12 career, if you're not reading at grade level. And but philanthropy really matters in the school system because it's able to do things that the school system by its just nature can't. Can you just kind of address that a little bit?
Sure, and I will say that philanthropy matters and is so greatly appreciated in a place like Loudoun because it is really hard to scale anything
Mm.
to our size, right?
Mhm.
And so we'll take the kindergarten readiness example, but just speaking more broadly, the ability for a school system to get the philanthropic support of someone in the community to test something that we think is a really great idea and we think is going to work, but we don't have the resources to initiate it ourselves, or we need to almost prove it to ourselves
Mhm.
into the school board and the public that this really is a powerful idea and is going to positively impact student achievement, that's a really great example of how philanthropy can support our school system.
Mhm.
Um, and I'll take the Health and Medical Science Academy that we just launched as an example of that.
Mhm.
Um, not just financial resources, the expertise of organizations like Clodmore Opportunities, but also the local hospital and other medical experts in the area. We were able to get all of those people in a room, and we hosted a health and medical science or HAMSci roundtable prior to launching the program. And we got direct feedback from the experts in the community about what what the industry needs and what students should learn before they go on to higher education and start acquiring jobs in the health and medical fields. And so hearing directly from the community is just as powerful, if not more powerful than the financial support that we're also
Mhm.
provided to make these programs successful. So we were able to launch that program. I think it's off to a great start. It's in its second year now. And we continue to get feedback to refine and improve the program.
Mhm.
So those relationships are just essential for that.
Yeah. No, that's a big deal, and I know that ham site program, there's a wait list. It's very popular, isn't it?
So popular, so
Yeah, I
popular.
mean,
And
and that's
that's another reason why we really are now shifting to thinking about how we can provide these programs across the board, right? Because
Mhm.
again, going back to that scale, we have 17 high schools, 80,000 students. Um, we just there's demand for all of our programs.
Mhm. And so I wanted to circle back to the literacy component, and, if you could just talk a little bit because as the foundation, we're very focused on early literacy,
Yep.
and I know that you mentioned it's very important coming to school kindergarten ready, where you need to be in that early childhood literacy, and just talk about what that means for a student going through school.
Yeah, absolutely. So and I think you nailed it when you were introducing the question. You know, we many of us take it for granted. And Matt, I don't know about you, but as a high school English teacher, I was not trained in teaching students how to read. That was not part of my master's or my undergraduate teacher preparation program. And looking back, I know there were some of my students who came to ninth grade not being able to read, and I was not equipped with the tools to support them in the way they needed to be supported. So one of my goals is to make sure that we close those gaps. So working with our higher ed partners to make sure our teachers are appropriately, that literacy has been a very important issue at the state level with implementation of our new Virginia Literacy Act. And um, so we've been spending a lot of time and effort really making sure that our teachers at all grades, right? Because
Mm.
we our goal is to have every child reading on grade level um, far before they enter high school. So, right, learning at grade level or above by third grade, catching them early so they can
Mm.
um, maximize their experiences. So anyway, but focusing on early literacy is one of my goals. And Stephanie, you and I have talked about this. How
Mhm.
can we bridge the gap between um, preschool and students who don't go to preschool and kindergarten? Provide those literacy opportunities for families so students start reading at home. All of those things are so important. And I think it's another really good example of something that's a community issue, not just a school issue.
Mhm. Yeah,
Right?
that's true.
It's family, communities, the public library, and the school system coming together um,
Mhm.
to support our youngest learners.
Yeah. It's funny 'cause you were saying that, you're a high school teacher, and I've just by chance, I've talked to a few high school English teachers over the course of the last few months. And as a funder, I'm always asking, "What do you need? Where do you need it?" And I'm always surprised when high school teachers say early childhood education, early literacy, to your point, because by the time they get to me, it's really tough, not to say they can't catch up, but it's very, very difficult. There's a saying, fixing a problem at the back end is much harder than getting it right on the front end, and that's where early
Absolutely.
literacy and I love and I never thought about this before, is children learn to read until 3rd grade. That's one of their main jobs, is learning to read until they get to 3rd grade, and then they're reading to learn. So they really have to have those skills by then. So it's way more important. I always thought early learning was about learning to talk and having fun and being a child, and that is important, but the literacy skills have to come
Yes.
along with that. So,
Yes. And they are specific skills that we should be teaching our
mhm,
children to use to
mhm,
read. Yeah,
exactly.
super important.
So, this podcast, we do have a focus on leadership and leaders, and you are one of the leaders in Loudoun County with your role as the chief academic officer. So, do you have a handful of priorities that what are your main priorities as a leader right now in the school system?
Yeah, so yes, I do always have priorities
Mhm,
and things that come to mind right now. So, I'll start by saying we started with our mission statement in this conversation, and we're actually in the middle of planning for our next iteration of our strategic plan.
mhm,
And that work truly excites me. I love thinking about Loudon as a whole complicated, messy system and coming up with a strategic plan that will really guide our work for the next 5 years. So we are in the middle of doing that. We are having focus groups. We have a gigantic planning team that's meeting over the next several months. We're getting input from the school board, obviously, who will also ultimately have to vote on the plan. But the reason that that priority is so exciting to me is that I think, will be our roadmap and drive the work that we do. And it's exciting to hear the conversations and the development of the plan, because all of these things that we've been talking about in the past, 30 minutes have come up in these conversations. So,
mhm.
early literacy as a priority, workforce development opportunities, authentic learning and assessment experiences. Those are all things that I want to ensure that every child in LCPS has on a regular basis. I want every single 3rd grader to go into 4th grade knowing how to read. I want all students to have choice in their CTE pathways or whatever pathways they choose, and to be able to demonstrate what they know beyond just a multiple choice test, really.
Mhm.
Um, and I think we're on the right path. We have so much of that already in place. So, really grounding ourselves in a strategic plan where we prioritize those things and ensure every student belongs in their school and on their path is really exciting to me.
I feel like keeping yourself grounded when strategically planning for the future right now is
Yeah.
probably really hard. There's so much going on in this world
Yeah.
that's hard to plan for.
It is so hard to plan for, and I'm a planner. I like to have a plan, and I've learned in the past, 10 years here in LCPS, you can't plan for everything. You
Mhm.
always have to be flexible as well. So, I think just keeping, and it sounds so cliche, but it truly does help just to keep grounded in what we want for our students, and we want the best experiences possible, and I want them to leave LCPS knowing that they have options, even if they don't know what those options are yet. They have the skills they need to make good decisions and go in the direction they want to go in.
Well, that is all very exciting, and I can, just listening to you and your excitement and your passion, I can see why you won the VACD award last year, which stands for the Virginia Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development. So I do just want to say congratulations, because this is out of 1,500 educators, and you were selected last year as that winner, and I can just feel why.
Oh,
I,
thank you.
I just love
Appreciate
your
that.
excitement and your enthusiasm about planning and your students. And we're just very fortunate to be in this county with the education system that we have. And, I don't have to tell you this, as you go around the state, that's when you really,
Yeah.
you do feel how fortunate we are. both we have the schools that we have and the community that we have to support the school, and that was obvious at that breakfast and,
Absolutely.
well
We
over.
we we truly have an amazing community that has education at the center of all we do. It's just amazing to go to events like that or just be out in the community talking to people and hear how they value education so much. So,
Mhm. Well, you'll be getting an invite soon. So I'm just gonna put a little plug is so there's gonna we're sponsoring a rally for reading block party in Sterling on May 30th, and we're bringing in two famous children's authors, and we're giving away hundreds and hundreds of books, and they can be signed, and we're free food, and even Wolf Trap is coming in to do performances. So it's going to be very exciting, and it's part of our commitment to early literacy. And I know the school system has been very instrumental in helping us plan. So it's your commitment to early literacy too. So I'm excited about that. And um, if you can stop by, that would be great.
looking
But
forward to it.
it
Yeah.
is a Saturday. It is a Saturday
Uh,
morning. So I know
hey,
there's a zillion
absolutely.
things going on, but it's a big deal.
I'll
It's a
be
big
there.
deal.
Wouldn't miss it.
Aw, well, thank you. So, Matt, what do you have?
Well, speaking of being excited, Ashley, what's something about LCPS's future that you're very excited about or looking forward to?
I think we are on such a such a powerful path. We're moving in the right direction. And what really excites me the most is being able to use all of the resources and amazing partnerships we have to just stay the course. In education, we tend to shift
Yeah.
constantly,
Yeah.
right? I'm sure you remember this from your time in the classroom. Teachers would say, now what are we doing? What are we doing this year? What are we doing that year? And I had a great conversation with our superintendent, with Dr. Spence, a couple weeks ago. We were talking about actually planning for next year, planning for the future, and communicating our message to the principals. And we both agreed we need to stay the course. We are on such a good trajectory. We have the support we need from the community. We are building an amazing new strategic plan, and we need to stay the course. So I am perfectly okay with saying that there is nothing new and exciting coming next. We are going to stay the course.
Well, consistency is key.
Well, I'm sure a
Yes.
lot of teachers will appreciate that.
I hope they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. I did have one more question before we move into our final series of very high stakes questions, but it's about public perception, I guess, or just kind of like the social idea of what education should look like. And I remember when I was in school, the expectation was, at least in my household, 4-year college was a non-negotiable, right? And I feel like that perception has been changing over time. And so the idea that career and technical education could become more important in the overall grand scheme of things. And I just was curious about your perception of maybe that shift in the value of CTE and some more hands-on careers, if you've seen that. And if so, how does LCPS help families understand that that's a viable and meaningful pathway as well?
I I think it's important for us to recognize that in the past it was, and still for some families, I think it's either you will go to college or you will go directly into the workforce. And there was this very clear delineation.
Mm.
Uh, I know as a high schooler, I did not have an option. I knew that I was not given an option. I had to go to college. Um, and I don't think I wanna be careful to shift it too like, there's a pendulum, right?
Mhm,
Just like in everything with education, there's a pendulum, and I don't want us to shift it too far the other way because I think college is really valuable
mhm,
for some students, just like I think CTE experiences are really valuable for some students, and so I think it's a and again, I go back to conversations I have with Dr. Spence about the future. It's a both and, right? It's giving students the knowledge and skills they need to make informed decisions. And if their decision is I need to go to college to experience new things and learn new things, that's great. If they have found their passion and know that they want to go into welding and make that their career, that's also great. And you can also change your mind along the way. So I think
Mhm.
we are working hard to change that perception that it's not an either or, it's really a both and I think that by expanding CTE pathways to all students, and I know Dr. Grubbs will talk about this in your interview with him, we're giving students and sort of changing that perception that it's not an either or thing.
That's good.
Mhm.
I like that.
Yeah.
It goes back to something that you said early in the conversation today. It's recognizing the skills, the talents of the individual students and providing them opportunity
Yeah.
to move
I will
forward.
just add, I think parents are a really important part of this particular aspect of the conversation because it's hard for them, some of them, to understand that if that's not how they were experiencing high school and college or high school and their career path. And so relying on our community partners to help us with that message for families, I think will be important. That
Mhm.
there's value in both, and uh, it, and it's maybe different than what they experienced.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't share these with you beforehand, Dr. Ellis, so I hope you're ready. No.
Okay,
This is just something we do every episode, and it's just a series of rapid fire questions. Just name the first thing that comes to mind, whenever I ask the question, and expand on it as much or as little as you like. Okay?
okay.
All right. So first one is, what is your favorite Loudoun community event?
Oh, favorite Loudon community event. This may be because it was just last week, but the school business partnership breakfast is amazing. I
That
love
makes
it so much.
sense. Yeah,
Such a great celebration of the collaboration between the schools and the and our community. It's just amazing.
surely. Your favorite place in Loudoun to get a cup of coffee?
Oh, I live in Percival and I can walk to Doppio Bunny and it's cute and quiet and really good coffee.
Okay. All right. That's the first we've had that on here, so
Mhm.
a good point to check it out. And
Yeah.
lastly, the one must-see place in Loudoun County for someone visiting from out of town.
Oh my gosh. Uh the must-see place. Well, I think that I so I would say that you must walk the WO&D trail and you must start in Percival at the very end of the trail and walk east. You might have to break it up a little bit. It's kind of long, but just the beauty of this county is something that I try not to take for granted. I grew up close to the water. We are not close to water, which I do kind of miss. But just the landscape and you can see the mountains from pretty much wherever you are, and it's just truly it's a great place to be.
Okay. Well,
You?
Dr. Ellis, thank you for being here today and sharing your perspective on how we're preparing students for the future. And thank you to everyone listening for being a part of this conversation.
Thank you so much.
Every act of generosity, every partnership, every story of connection strengthens the community that we share. Follow and subscribe wherever you listen. And until next time, stay connected for good.